Unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure you've seen or heard about Christopher Nolan's new film, The Odyssey, but it is already facing calls for a boycott, not because of the cast or the story, but because of a certain filming location. Some scenes were filmed near the city of Dakhla in Western Sahara, so let me tell you why that's controversial. On the surface, it looks like a beautiful desert location. However, Dakhla is in territory that is still controlled by Morocco, that the United Nations is still declaring as disputed. And to understand that, we have to go back to the late 1800s. So Western Sahara was actually colonized by Spain in 1884, and it was then renamed Spanish Sahara. But when the wave of decolonization spread after the Second World War, the people of Western Sahara, also called the Sahrawi people, wanted independence as well. So in 1973, they formed the Polisario Front, which was a nationalist movement that wanted to gain independence as Western Sahara. Then in 1975, everything changed again when Spain withdrew itself from the territory. Around the same time, the International Court of Justice actually declared that both Morocco and Mauritania had ties to the region, however not enough to claim sovereignty. Also declared that the Sahrawi people actually had the right to self-determination. However, despite their right to self-determination, Morocco decided to organise what is called the Green March, which is where they sent 350,000 civilians into Western Sahara to set up settlements. Spain then signed the Madrid Accords, which basically handed over the territory to Morocco and Mauritania without giving the Sahrawi people a vote. The Polisario Front rejected this deal and they declared the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic in 1976, but then a war followed. The war led to Mauritania withdrawing themselves in 1979, but Morocco actually just claimed the territory that they had. During the 1980s, Morocco built a 2,700 kilometre sand wall, also known as the Moroccan Berm, which is one of the longest military barriers in the world. Today it separates the Moroccan-controlled west, which takes up around 80% of the territory, with the Polisario-controlled east. Then a UN-brokered ceasefire came into effect in 1991, and they basically called for a referendum, and they wanted the people of Western Sahara to vote whether they wanted to become part of Morocco or remain independent. However, 30 years later, and that referendum has still never happened. Today, Morocco considers Western Sahara as a very integral part of its country, and they've invested heavily in the infrastructure and the economy. However, the UN still declares it as a non-self-governing territory, and many countries, including the UK, do not recognise Morocco's sovereignty over it. And thousands of Sahrawi refugees still live in camps on the borders of Algeria. And that is why the Odyssey has become so controversial, because they will have needed permission from Moroccan authorities to film in that area, and by getting permission off the Moroccan authorities, they are essentially legitimising the fact that Morocco own that territory, which according to the UN, by the way, they don't, and it actually remains unsolved. Others argue it was simply just a filming location. However, which side you take, it has shown that one of Hollywood's biggest films has put one of the longest standing conflicts back into the spotlight.